a second election, that you would include that as a question?
I would put, a second choice, a second race, a congressional race. Second
okay.
thing that was on their ballot.
That's still
an
being
issue.
voted on the
An
same.
issue, a congressional race, even a local race, a state race, anything.
Well, that's a means by which you can cross-check, because
Yeah.
this one looks right, and then this one you would assume.
He's got it, yeah, you got it. Because first you have to verify that, yeah, we did a pretty good exit poll, we got a random sampling. Okay. Now, I was going to say, what could have been wrong? I could have possibly, I was in Franklin County. I was one of the 2 exit pollers, and you can do this with anything, anywhere from, I'd recommend 2 people, somebody watch the other one's back. 2 people to 4 or 5, depending on the size of the precinct. If you do a multiple precinct location, which you guys said you don't have, you got to be real careful that they know what precinct they're in. Or you just lump them all together, add all the machine results for all of them together, and then you have like a super precinct. You can always do that.
Or you know up front which precinct.
But it would be preferable if you can get as high a percentage as possible. If you can, we only got like 30–40% in Franklin County. So it's possible I oversampled, we oversampled Obama supporters. It's possible. But here we are. We were all these sort of middle-aged white ladies. Why would we have attracted Obama supporters just fine? We're the profile for Hillary supporters. Not that we necessarily were. We weren't on them. But, so you ask those kind of questions. But it makes an interesting citizen check. And in Pennsylvania, this was the only paper trail because they have paperless DREs for 85 to 90% of
That's
their
what we had here.
machines.
We had no paper.
So this was something. I'm just going to say one more thing. The hard part of this was not getting the citizens to do it and turn in their surveys. You get them to turn in their surveys at the end. If they count them, it would be better if they count them and then write down what they got and then also send them to your whoever's in charge of, say, the state, and they count them. The other thing that's hard is getting accurate results from the boards of election if they don't post. In Ohio, they're no longer posting at the precincts. The one that I was in Franklin posted. This is a problem with transparency in our elections. They're not posting anymore, and it was really hard to get them from the Board of Elections. And the other thing is, you want to get the results without the absentees added in that have maybe been coming in for a week or a month. In most states, have been coming in for a month. You want no absentees in there. And they'll lump them together, so you want the machine count, because you're comparing machine count with how you ask people how they voted. And ask them if they voted provisional, because they didn't vote on the machine. Provisional, they voted on a piece of paper, they put it in an envelope, and it's going to be counted or not later.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
All right, I'm going to let somebody else do this, because I don't think Jeannie or
How many
Oh, sorry.
How many is it important to survey before you get a ballot?
Well, I said if you can get up to 80%, you're going to need enough people. You got to figure out how many people are going to vote that day. Are there 500 people? I'd say a good ratio would be 1 exit poller per 100 voters. Would be a good ratio. It's off the top of my head. Now, at Penn State, we had 5 very enthusiastic pollsters, and we came from Ohio. We went to help them. We didn't organize it, but we came to help this woman do it. We had 5. They had something like 1,800 voters that day. We got about 67%, which I thought was pretty dang good.
Yeah.
We did have a few people that helped us later so we could go rest.
Do they let you stand inside?
That's a very good question, too. And let me refer you to the op-ed article that I wrote on this so that I don't take up the whole time here. Opednews.com. Is that right? Yes, direct. Opednews.com. Or just Google op-ed news.
Okay. Yeah.
And look for my name, M-A-R-J, not G, M-A-R-J.
I got mine on too.
I know they spelled it with a creech with a K. C-R-E-E-C-H. And there's more information.
Okay, thank you.
I described several exit polls. Or just email me and I'll give you all the information I have.
Well, on election day, exit polling is one of the significant ways people can volunteer. Living in D.C. is not a critical area because 80%, 90% of my people are Democrats. I guess the swing states, I'm just wondering where do volunteers?
You could travel.
Travel.
You could vote early vote, which we have no idea if it's going to be counted or not. But you could vote early vote. Of course, if you vote on the machine, it wasn't going to count either. Travel. The Penn State, did you do this? Yes. I think on the website. Anyway, concernedvoters.org. One word. Concerned voters, little case. And if that doesn't work, George, write me. I'm pretty sure that's it. That woman is the one that did Penn State. And she's got Penn State behind her doing statistics, so I feel pretty confident about what she's doing. I think she's doing
What's her name?
a good job. Mary Valero. Vollero.
That's correct. Pretty sure.
Concernedvoters.com or?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if this isn't
Probably
right.
not work.
It's on, drop by our table. We have lots of literature that's free. You pick it up, and there's all kinds of information on there.
Great, thank you.
Sorry to hurry along, but we wanted to give you some other ways. Not everybody's going to want to do this, but it is easy to get people to do this, to volunteer. The hard part is doing the analysis and getting the results from the boards of election if they don't post. If they post, you can take a picture of it.
Oh,
With
sure.
your digital camera.
Yeah,
Take pictures.
which I thought they had to do.
We also ended up interviewing people who had other problems just because.
Oh,
okay,
sure.
I should have made you guys do
Like
this.
make a blank and have
Here I
them
am
tell you
doing
what the
this.
problem
You're
is.
the voter.
Okay?
Somebody come walking by. I'm the pollster. I have 2 or 3 of these ready. And I don't say we're doing an exit poll. Just call it an exit poll. Let's say a citizen exit poll. You don't want to make them go, what's that? You know, you want them to participate. That's your main goal. So I say, I'm doing an exit poll, and I don't say, would you like to participate? We're so used to saying no to people that
Sure,
solicit
you got a piece of paper.
So instead I say, we're doing an exit poll. I'm sorry, I've got my pen here too. You can tell them.
Oh, here.
I'm doing, yeah, now I'm so prepared.
And do you have a pen?
We're doing an exit poll. We'd like you to participate. And I show it to her, and she sees, and then I'll add, it's only a page. Or I say, it'll only take 30 seconds. And if she doesn't ask questions, it will.
Yeah.
Or a minute. It'll only take 60 seconds.
And you do ask them that you'd like to have it now. You don't want them to take it
Oh,
home.
yeah. We're doing it.
30 seconds.
We're doing an exit poll, or you can say an exit survey. We'd like you to participate. It only takes 30 seconds. Then I'm ready with the next person. You know, I've seen one person hand out 3 or 4 of these.
Okay.
Anyway, and we start. Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry to leave you guys like this, but I'm going to take too much time. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Do you want me to do it?
Yes.
Okay.
You want me to introduce you?
Yeah, if you like, sure, I'll take an intro. Take a free intro. Go ahead, go for it, Marge.
This is Jeannie Dean, which is her stage name. You probably don't recognize it. No, she's a stand-up comedian, so we expect her to be funny. And
Oh, don't
I'm
ever
kidding.
set you up like
She's
that.
going to kill me. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
This is Jeannie Dean. She's an activist from Sarasota, Florida, recently from Sarasota, Florida,
Just escaped, just narrowly.
where they have lots of fraud. She is also a premier videographer. She's been working with Black Box Voting and Bev Harris. She's been working as an independent videographer
In New Hampshire.
in New Hampshire. She was there.
I saw those boxes with a funny tape on them.
She
Isn't
also,
it a jaw dropper? That's what is flabbergasting. I'm going to talk a little
What
bit
was
about
flabbergasting is how they wouldn't let you into the room. They stood there. And
Yes!
but
I know!
this woman is multi-talented. She also has done the cartoon work that's on our table.
It's a knee slapping hole.
There you go. Okay.
Thank you,
Jeannie
Marge.
Dean.
Thank you, Marge. Can I just
You're all late.
Just to top off what Marge was talking about with the citizen exit polls, I was in Sarasota. We did at my own precinct. Marge came down and I participated. We watched. It is a fascination. It is inspiring. People are much more willing than you might imagine to go ahead and sign off on how they voted because we have growing number of people concerned about whether or not their votes are being counted. So, we had huge participation rates. These exit polls, citizen exit polls. By the way, it's projectvotecount.com, right? Mark, not .org, but projectvotecount.com.
Yeah, I said no, right.
Yeah, all right.
You did too.
I think I did. Okay. You can. We did them in Florida. They were done in Texas. They were done in Ohio, of course, and I believe also a little bit in PA. Is that
Oh,
right?
we just did PA. We talked about that.
Yeah.
Also, you can email me and I'll give you other types of, that's one type of exit poll, we'll give you other ones too. Write to all of them and see which one you like best.
As this is my passion, particularly exit polls, considering what they've done to them over the last 8 years, and how difficult they've made it to actually find out what the origin, where the discrepancies are. I think citizen exit polling is an inspiring way to go. I mean, there's no reason why we can't do it. And, you know, we saw Zogby on the Jon Stewart show right after New Hampshire, and Stewart asked him, how could you have been so wrong? And Zogby, to my chagrin, said, well, you know, and I'm paraphrasing, I guess I don't know what I'm doing. And I was about to snap my cat. Well, if he doesn't know what he's doing, then he can certainly do no worse. You know? So that being said, I cut my teeth. Right?
That's our standard.
That's our standard, right. We can't slip.
Oh, good.
So, but yeah, it was really just an incredible thing to witness, and you know, again, the rates are much higher. Participation rates were you know, just phenomenal, and very inspiring to watch. I do have some video of that, which I intend to post at some point. Okay, so what I thought I'd talk to you about today, my other passion is video as a means and a way to wrestle back the citizen oversight and transparency and control over our elections and to hold election officials accountable. And we are seeing that happen in fits and starts. YouTube is just a boon and very easy, all free. We don't know how, we've got a very limited window on this technology, as I'm sure I don't have to tell you savvy people that, right, they're going to try and do everything they can to chip away at that shortly. However, in the meantime, we've got, you know, until the November elections, we've got a fine opportunity to use citizen videographers to really affect change. I started by working with Video to Vote. And Mr. Fernakis knows them quite well. They've worked with him in the past, and they are a group of directors. And you might know them for the film that they did was American Blackout. It's a great movie up there with some of the best in terms of election, you know, documentation. It's really the story of Cynthia McKinney, which I didn't know much about until I saw the movie, and I was just blown away by what I didn't know. But so you know, this was always a passion of mine, and then I landed in Sarasota, Florida, just by divine providence in 2006, and what do you know, 18,000 votes go missing from our touch screen, paperless DRE voting machines. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the race. I won't go into it in too much detail because it's all in the video. And you can find me at youtube.com/Jeannie, and we pretty much have, I've got 3 playlists, and I'll show those to you. I have, on the first playlist is all the work we did in New Hampshire, completely compiled, ready to go. You can watch it as a playlist, you can send it as one link, all the work we did with Bev Harris and the work that I did independently regarding New Hampshire. The second playlist is all Sarasota. Sarasota to me is fascinating because of 2 things. One, you know, there's this gross anomaly of this, you know, 80,000 missing votes, but then on top of that, you have a villain that Disney himself couldn't have invented. My supervisor of elections, Kathy Dent. And I don't know if you know much about her, but she is the demon of anti-democratic behavior. I've never seen a supervisor of elections that has so much disdain for the voters. And that's how I really got started on this. She likes to talk about, I've filmed her for 2 years now. She likes to talk about how they're good activists and bad activists. And I always point out that I would not be an activist if she wasn't a bad supervisor of elections. I'm her monster. You know, so whatever.
She's in Sarasota?
She's Sarasota, right. Florida, interestingly enough, just really quickly, Florida, and this is true of every state, has major swing counties, and Sarasota is one of those. It's a 50-50
I was
district.
a consultant to Schneider in 2004.
Were you really? Oh, we got to
I was
talk.
one of the 6 that she fired after 2 weeks.
Really? Okay, you live in Florida? Florida's
No, I worked with 3 swing states 1 month each. And I started in Florida hoping I'd stay there, and then I did the fiasco for the campaign, and the casters, then Minnesota, and then this ended up in Pennsylvania, which I felt the most fulfilling.
I bet it is, sweet. Well, you know, I got to tell you, Florida, don't know what to say about Florida. I have great hope overall, but Florida might be in the bag. I don't know that, I mean, it's state down. We just, because of Bush, because of Chevy. You know, it's very hard to penetrate.
Well,
You consultant?
I talked to, was it Emory, who's head of the Ohio Democratic Party? Who was at Take Back America Conference? Anyway, I talked to the head of the Ohio Democratic Party. Who really had to shut down. I mean, this guy, they're very well organized now. And I said, well, what's the problem with Florida? Why can't Florida be like you guys? And he said, it's the leadership in Florida. They don't give a damn, and their donors just let them get, the big donors let them get away with it. And he said, what they need is someone to come down there or get the donors to get rid of the leadership.
Yes, can you
It wouldn't
do
be
that?
that hard to do.
I'll pay for your airfare. You come down and
I'll
fix,
give you
help
my
us
card.
fix
Talk
Florida.
to
That would
Bob and he'll tell you.
be fabulous. Okay, I definitely will.
I'm busy trying to raise $100,000 for Red Kimberlin's about the revolution to indict the guys that have been hacking the machines. You don't want to talk
Oh,
about
I
it.
do, I know exactly what you're talking about.
To
I'm
me,
following that
like,
very closely.
You know, in terms of my priorities, that would be the most bang for the buck.
This is in, where is this?
Starts
thing?
with a C and with an L.
That's right, and he's out in California?
No, where is he? It's in DC.
DC?
His business is in Ohio.
Oh, I
He's
don't,
indicted, will be indicted where.
But he works for the RIP.
Oh, he works for
He'll be
McCain.
indicted.
He works for McCain.
And he worked for Bush in 2004, primarily in Ohio, and he worked in 2000 in Florida.
And as soon as McCain hired him is when McCain started doing the primaries.
this is
He's a
incredible.
genius,
What a
he's a genius
surprise.
programmer.
Right. What they used to call crackers and non-hackers, is that right? But he was one of the leading crackers, and in the last 20 years, he's got all kinds of influences, all kinds of potential. Fascinating story that's really just now starting to come to light. I'm going to keep this short so we can hear more about that, because this is old. Sarasota 2006, old news. 2008 New Hampshire is already passé, I'm afraid. But I'll be happy to answer any questions about that if you guys have any, and we're going to be speaking about it a little bit more at the 4 o'clock presentation. Meantime, what I thought I'd do is pull up 2 videos that I think show that one person watching has incredible impact. And that's why I think video is so important. That's why I think if we can inspire waves of citizen videographers, just like we can inspire waves of citizen pollsters, we have a really good shot at making sure that the country is at least aware enough that we won't see, a Kerry concession like we did in 2004, which still is. So the first video I'd like to show you, and I'm so sorry that, I got here early to try and set up our tech equipment, and it just isn't happening.
Can I say something while you're trying to get set up?
Please do, yes.
It's not on the voting thing, but on videography. One of the sessions I was in earlier, you were there, George. One of the best ideas that came up with, now it's the week that all the Congress people are going to be home, we're going to be break. We should have citizen arrests with handcuffs of all of these Democrats that have been voting for the funding of the war,
Funding, yeah.
and then send it to YouTube. And
Great idea.
because these guys are criminals.
Right. That's
All the blue collar
very
Democrats,
South Blogger
all the
who said,
Republicans.
please, if you video it, put it on YouTube so I can play it, replay it, replay it.
Right, and
I even arrested the Democrats that voted yes this time, but probably they voted no.
That's the thing, yeah.
Arrest them all, except for the obvious one.
that is, what is your name, Gary?
Jerry Crane.
Gary Crane,
It's a
that's
great
an
YouTube.
inspired
It
idea.
would be, yes.
It wasn't mine, it was somebody else's there.
Well,
Dave Swanson's going to be the focal point.
Yes. After
Impeach
Downing Street.
Cheney.org. After Downing Street.
And then slash, isn't it?
And then you go to convictbushcheney.org. Just go to convictbushcheney.org.
convictbushcheney.org?
Yeah, but David's here, should try to go up to him and give him your,
Okay, cool. Oh, I'd love to. convictbushcheney.org. Who's the hacker?
I mean, this should have been organized a month ago. Worst case is that we can get our shit together for the 4th of July. They all go home during that week.
That's
Yes,
right.
they do.
That's
Of
right.
course.
And get our independence back.
That's
It's a
right.
great,
Sure.
It's a great idea. That's the sort of thing that's kind of out of the box. There's so many applications for this technology. It's low tech, it's cheap, it's easy to do. Any citizen can do it with a video camera and a firewire. And again, I'll, if you have any questions about how to do that or how to get you
Tell the local press because it's a good newspaper story.
Sure.
Well, and what we're seeing now, right? Mainstream and local press will pick up on.
Yeah,
blogs,
that's
will
what
pick
David
up on
was saying.
YouTubes. Yes, so that's also, I think we're very close to developing an entirely new fourth estate. I think we have alternative media beings in a row, or ducks in a row, right, which will make it easier to bypass. We can just weed everybody off of phone news and CNN and MSNBC crap. We could really make a difference that way. All right, well, so here's the first video. This is from the Florida Recount 2006. This one's called,
Closer, guys, if you really want to see this.
no, I'm going to bring it up on the bigger screen. It might be a little difficult to hear, but this is, this is Kathy Dent, my supervisor of elections.
Just see what she looks
Oh,
like.
Bigger
Dent.
screen
It's a
where?
really brief, just right here. I'm going to pull it up full throttle. But she, violation after violation of the first day of the recount. Meanwhile, she's insisting that it wasn't the machines. The 18,000 votes is not the fault of the machines, which is the most staggering part. None of us could believe that was coming out of her mouth. But we have in this video Susan Pinchon, who's also in Hacking Democracy. She's the lady that used to get in tears when they deliver the hack because She can't imagine it, right?
So easily.
I've had good fortune and the honor of working with her. She is such a lady. She looks like she went to charm school, and yet she comes in with her election law right under her arm, and just very, very beautiful, very gracefully fights the system. And this is a great example of how she changed the recount procedure, which was completely non-transparent.
And child of Catherine Harris.
Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned that. I really believe that, and the reason that I have this dent obsession is because it's the same district. It's CD 13, Congressional District 13. I really believe that if we can get Kathy Dent in the bud, we may prevent the next Catherine Harris, because we're grooming her at the state level. She is not only our supervisor of elections, but she is the president-elect of the State Board of Supervisors. She also has incredible connections to ES&S, which is our particular vendor, election systems and software. She has drawn up contracts to turn over our election parameters to them. She's got an Albert Gonzalez-like way of legalese, parsing, misdirecting, lying, blatantly outright lying, and she has not been held accountable by the press. However, the good news is she knows me. I come in, she calls me the YouTube lady. What's a little disarming is that, she stopped letting loose with all of this garbage and trash talk, because she understands now that she's on the record. But here I'm just a girl with a video camera, and yet my own press is falling down on me in ways that, I couldn't have imagined. And she is now having to at least modify her bad behavior because she's being watched. So the way, again, being watched is not something they ever count, which is, really striking. It'll get a little louder.
Could you tip it forward?
Sure.
We might as well be sitting downtown, all talking to each other down there, because we really have no idea what they're doing. We probably are not going to really update the media or anything
That's
about
correct.
3 o'clock. Excuse me,
What was the shot?
I'm so sorry. I would like to show Tennessee Board statute. I was asked for statutory authorization. The inspectors or other election officials shall, at all times while the ballots are being counted, allow as many as 3 persons near to them to see whether the ballots are being correctly read and called, and the votes correctly tallied. And any official who denies this privilege or interferes therewith is guilty of a misdemeanor of the 1st degree.
That was a direct attempt to keep Susan Pinchon from observing. I'd rather have Sarasota County voters. Susan Pinchon is from Volusia County, where the machines counted backwards
Oh,
more
yes.
in 2000. She's excluding the media from observing.
I think it's great to hold a law in this process, because it's obvious that the people here are having an effect on how this is being conducted, that there wasn't a complete awareness of election law by the people that are doing the return. We were told that everybody we put out one precinct, precinct 85.
Which was a precinct of interest.
They would not pull that
Large
precinct,
minority voted in the
everybody goes through
district.
the normal process. I just saw
Had a ton of anomalies.
tag on walking looking at all the machines, and I asked him what he was looking for, and he said he was looking for precinct 85. I'd like to know why they're looking for precinct 85 when we were told they were going to go through the normal process, and now we're being told to leave for
joy.
That's Pinchon.
Ms. Pinchon, you just found out what?
I'm just absolutely astounded that we just found out, and I'm going to confirm this with the canvassing board, that when they're opening every one of these voting machines, and I'll stand here so you can see the machines behind me, as they're opening these voting machines, they are not recording the serial numbers that are coming off the machines. They're just throwing them in a plastic bag, which has all kinds of other seals in it. This is absolutely, if this is true, this absolutely, in my mind, invalidates this entire process.
There were originally gold stars and some without. What was needed to be an observer rather than simply a member of the public?
Basically, it boils down to space it here. Allowing to allow both of the parties and both of the campaigns to have access as observers.
Yeah, it's
We also had officials from the state and attorneys and those from the United States Congress, the House Administration Committee. There was supposed to the supervisors of elections that came to observe. There are those here around election system software. They're strictly here to observe. And I'm not 100% sure about what. I think it's the Department of State. And anyone else that got my attorney got a gold star for doing such a good job.
Of course he did. He floats around all the time, that guy.
We have had some delays today, and it has slowed the process down, and what are those delays? There are some procedural questions, and I think for the half an hour,
When in doubt, break for lunch.
When in doubt, break for lunch, right.
And you can have a secret meeting while you're at lunch.
And then there's this little tag I put on the end of it. Check this out.
Yeah.
Let's do it a third time from the results to make sure that it wasn't just your human error, she says. Machines always count better than human. Okay, so that's a perfect example. Ms. Pinchon opened up the entire process for us that day. Oh, thank you, dear. That was just what I'd like to do. And the Democratic Party observer was able to get and actually watch the machines, right, and watch the printouts, watch the tallies. So,
Democrat won though that Friday.
no, the Republican won that election, sweetie. Oh, yeah. The Republican won by a margin of 369 votes in a race that lost when the machines lost 18,000. And it was contested, and they seated him in Congress.
The Democrat, right?
Jennings.
Jennings.
Christine Jennings and Vern Buchanan is the Republican candidate. And Vern Buchanan backed by all the big bad Bushies. We had all the Bushies come through town right before the election to do all their fundraising for him. But, you know, the anomaly in just one county, all the other counties didn't have this same, gross 18,000 vote. The other districts in the county, rather, did not have this same. It's just this one county, and it's because it swung Democratic, or it was expected to in this particular election. So he was seated conditionally. Congress threw that out just recently because the GAO investigation, which was also a whitewash, which I also have video of, which is very disturbing, right? In their mind, proved that it was not the machine. So I get letters from MoveOn, just to wrap up, get letters from MoveOn.org all the time, and they say, call your congressman and complain about X, Y, and Z, and I write MoveOn.org back and I say, that is not my congressman, and until you address that, how do you expect me to affect any change? Any platform you want me to execute on your behalf is moot. So you can't get MoveOn.org to wake up to that. And I think I'm one of many, but at least I know that my elected representative was not elected, and he's not my representative. He does not represent my community, which is a very scary thought considering.
No, he's not our president.
Then he's not our president. I would like to very quickly turn this over to people who are fascinating. Two of my favorite heroes right here, right?
These are both my esteemed colleagues. You want to draw straws? Or?
I have a straw in my pocket.
How about this guy, because you're going first on the next one. This is Dr. Richard Hayes Phillips, or Richard Hayes Phillips, PhD. This man lives in, usually, he lives all over, he's sort of, no, upstate New York. What's the name of the? Canton, New York. But he'll tell you a story probably, but he came to Ohio to do an analysis for us because we suspected that we had a fraudulent election in Ohio, and he did. And he's just got his book out, which he would love to sell you a copy of. We have a table, we'll have it tonight at the dinner place called Witness to a Crime. Both of these guys. I'm gonna put here correct, if this is all right, but unless you really want this one, this word.
Oh, is it Oregon?
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
so sorry.
that's-
We
Bob.
actually
No,
share the site.
I'm so sorry.
You get there either way.
Either way.
Yeah, either way, don't worry. But or
I'll get it.
and
I'll take it.
and it's
No,
lowercase.
it's a split screen. So.
Richard's website is witnesstoacrime.com.
Right.
All little letters smushed together, like you didn't know.
Well, it doesn't matter. I think it works any way you do it. But
Well, that works for me. And this is Dr. Bob Petrakis. Both of these guys have been working on the fraud in Ohio since before 2004, but especially since 2004.
No, .com. I am not organized.
He's come. Okay, Richard, why don't you go?
I can change mine then too, because I'm not organized.
Take it away. We want to get him on Oprah because this book is a blockbuster.
Can I ask you a real quick question?
Absolutely.
Sort of the gorilla that's in this room,
Yeah.
the elephant, I should say.
Yeah, the elephant.
Why is there
The elephant in
nobody?
the book.
Why is there nobody here? I mean, 2/3 of the people here are the speakers, and then there's George, you, and me.
I suspect because of
Cindy
Cindy
Sheehan.
Sheehan.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any other reason? Because some, yeah, that's what
I mean, like,
yeah,
We're
that's
going to get
probably it.
Cindy.
That's probably it.
I don't know, but I do
mean, if
congratulate you
was
guys for
presenting,
being here.
I'd be watching Cindy.
Yeah.
Let me get a drink of water. Go, Richard.
Well, I've had requests from Outlet News to work with Joan Brunwasser on a series of pieces that would present some of the background about this book. And during the last week in the Adirondack Mountains, where I clear hiking trails for a living at this time of year, I wrote an old-fashioned pen and paper, remember those, a piece about what constitutes an audit. And I didn't write it to present it here, but this little group might be just the place to present this information, because we're being told that some random spot check of machine-counted precincts is going to constitute an audit that would make electronic voting reliable. And what Ohio citizens conducted under my direction was a genuine audit of the 2004 presidential election. This was no mere spot check of randomly selected precincts and no mere recount of the same ballots previously run through the electronic tabulators. I think that you should interrupt me at any time as I discuss this, because this work is in the formative stage. We learned to ask for everything: ballots, poll books, voter signature books, ballot accounting charts, packing slips, invoices. We asked to see all the ballots, whether voted, spoiled, or unused.
Can you read that list again, packing slips?
Yeah, it'll probably all end up on, my guess is Joan will not alter this. This will go up as a piece on Op-Ed News. But yeah, we asked for ballots, poll books, voter signature books, ballot accounting charts, packing slips, and invoices. And I'll get to all of those. We asked to see all the ballots, whether voted, spoiled, or unused. And we always asked to photograph the records so that I could analyze them with painstaking accuracy and re-examine the same records when necessary. We lacked the element of surprise, as a list of the requested precincts was almost always demanded in writing and well in advance. But I picked the counties, and I picked the precincts, and I rarely said how or why. What are you looking for? I was often asked. I don't know. I would reply, this is an audit. I know, I don't think I could get laughter except in this room for some of these things. You know, when the IRS audits your tax returns, you don't get to pick the year and to decide which records to show them. They want to see everything, and so did we. That's an audit. You know, when election results have been altered, the results will almost always be apparent at the precinct level. Either the numbers will be at variance with long-established voting patterns, or inexplicable combinations of choices will be attributed to the same voters on the same day, or both. Voter turnout, that is the percentage of registered voters casting ballots, may be suspect, either too high or too low. The percentage of ballots recorded as having no choice for the office, under votes plus overvotes, might be anomalously high or low. So based upon these criteria, we audited the most suspect precincts. And all the records we requested are important. It is rightly the responsibility of election officials to verify the accuracy of the elections they administer. It's a burden of proof question. So, to discuss the actual documents, the ballot accounting charts for each precinct, and some states have a different term for them, but they should state the number of ballots received at the start of the day, which should match the number on the itemized packing slip from the printer who supplied the county with all its ballots. This is why you have to compare all the records. That same chart should state the total number of voted ballots, which should equal the number of names in the poll book and the voter signature book. And it should state the number of spoiled ballots, where the voter asked for a new ballot to do it over. And that number of spoiled ballots should match the number of altered ballot stub numbers recorded in the voter signature book. Cross it out like the new name. These numbers are supposed to match. And it should state the number of unused ballots remaining at the end of the day, which, when added to the number of voted and spoiled ballots, would equal the total number they started with. I mean, this is not complicated. And without these records, there is no way to tell if the ballot box contains too many ballots or too few. And you're not going to find that out by a recount. The ballot stubs are numbered strips of paper attached to each ballot. And the stub number for each ballot issued should be recorded by a poll worker right next to the voter's name. In both the poll book, which is written by the poll worker, and the voter signature book, which is signed by the voter. The ballot stub should be torn off and placed into the ballot box separately to protect voter privacy and the right to a secret ballot. So, the numbers on the torn off stubs should match the numbers in the poll book and the voter signature book. And the numbers on the stubs still attached to the unused ballots should not appear in the poll book and the voter signature book. And I know this sounds elementary, but these are the ways that if they don't keep these records, they can get away with election rigging. and all the stubs and all the ballots, whether voted, spoiled, or unused, should be preserved. Without these records, there is no way to tell if the ballots run through the tabulator are the same ballots issued to the voters.
Right. Can you tell us what kind of ballot that was?
Both punch cards and optical scan ballots. 85% of the ballots cast in Ohio were on paper in 2004, either punch cards or optical scan ballots with little marks filled in, sometimes by the voter, sometimes not.
Sometimes by other people. Or covered marks of the voter.
Now, in Ohio, boards of elections are at liberty to remake ballots at their discretion, ostensibly so that the voter's intent will be accurately recorded by the electronic tabulator. In the counties we audited, I'm just going to put it on your page. In the counties that we audited, the number of remakes or duplicates ranged from a mere handful to more than 1% of the total ballots cast in the entire county.
Wow. Is that witnessed at all when they do a remake?
Oh, well, the witnesses from the Green Party to the recounted Miami County pointed out that there were about 550 remakes. We found them. I photographed them. There were 570 of them. And I recall that 14% of them were undervotes, with no choice for Bush or Kerry. These are optical scan ballots. I mean, it's hard to forget to fill it in for president. And, you know, the county-wide total for undervotes in the other ballots was 0.5%. So you tell me why the remakes had 28 times the rate of undervotes than the rest of the ballots. And you tell me if you think they're real. This is why I said you can interrupt me at any time, because I got examples of all these things.
What's your email again?
None of them work.
I think he's been.
I've been trying and, leaving various emails. You can try Richard Hayes Phillips, that's actually Hayes, at yahoo.com. Because at least I can access that when I'm on the road. But if you're a person of interest, your email might not get to me. Brad Friedman, for instance, isn't allowed to email to Richard Hayes Phillips at yahoo.com. So, oops. I have some top secret addresses that work, but I can't get out here. So you can try that one. And
That's because you be interfered by some.
well, I set up an account with Gmail, and when I went to the inbox and tried to read the emails, a little window popped up on the screen that contained one word: stopped. So I don't use that one. That one's retired.
I never received that one. I mean, the stop message. That's
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is scary.
Yeah.
It doesn't say, has encountered a problem and needs to close. No, it just said stop. So anyway, the original spoiled ballots from which the remakes allegedly duplicate are supposed to be preserved. We never saw any of them. Without these records, there is no way to tell if the remakes are legitimate. And the total number of regular ballots and of absentee ballots returned by the voters and provisional ballots that are ruled valid, they're supposed to match subsets of names in the poll book and voter signature book as well. The ballots for each precinct must be kept in the same sequence in which the auditor found them. I had difficulty getting this across to some people who wanted to look at ballots. failure to do so can compromise the evidence. Long consecutive runs of ballots for one candidate or another are proof of hand sorting, for which there might be no legitimate reason. Abrupt changes in voting patterns partway through the stack of ballots may be indicative of ballot tampering, especially if there is a marked increase or decrease in ticket splitting. You would expect, for instance, the choices made by Kerry voters for other offices and issues to be fairly steady throughout the day, whether or not there was a stream of Democrats at certain times of the day. So this is why what March calls whole ballot analysis is essential. The combinations of choices attributed to individual voters on each ballot must be examined, not merely the contest being investigated. Doesn't mean you have to look at all of them, but you pick some landmark elections that you feel you can compare to. In Ohio, it was usually the Chief Justice contest and the constitutional amendment to ban gay marriage or anything resembling it. Ballots from numerous counties must be examined. Unless this is done, there is no frame of reference. And there is no way to tell if the ballots are counterfeit. Likewise, all the marks on the ballots must be examined to see if one or more of the marks are made by a different hand than the others. Such forgeries can be a method for spoiling the ballot by turning a voter's choice into an overvote. We do have a splendid example in the book here where you can just see how the mark from Michael Badnarik is smeared to ruin a ballot for Kerry. And the other marks made by the voters look like the mark for Kerry when you look at the whole ballot, which is on the CD that comes with the book. These forgeries can also be a method for turning an undervote into a vote for the candidate desired by the election riggers. We saw cases where the mark for Bush was different than the hand that marked the other offices on the ballot, which might be one of the reasons why Miami County had the lowest percentage of undervotes of any county in the state of Ohio, because they were turning them into votes for Bush. And in the infamous Claremont County, they simply put little white stickers over the Kerry mark and filled it in for Bush, tried to destroy the stickered ballots. This may be the sole surviving stickered presidential ballot. I've got 9 others for other offices. And of course, this goes to the protection of the records. If you're going to destroy altered ballots and remake them, you necessarily have to dip into your stash of unused ballots to do that. Now you don't have enough unused ballots to withstand the audit, so you have to destroy those too. And you have to destroy the ballot stubs. And since the ballot stubs weren't recorded in the voter signature books in Claremont County, they had to destroy those too. So this gives you an example of what we were up against in Claremont County, but don't you think they'd have been better off destroying the records before we photographed them with digital cameras instead of afterwards? One cannot overstate the importance of the chain of custody for the ballots, as it is here that the opportunity for election rigging arises. Lapses in the chain of custody after the ballots leave the polling place on election night provide the opportunity for ballot tampering prior to tabulation, in which case a subsequent hand count will nicely match the machine count, as in Warren County, Ohio. Lapses in the chain of custody after the ballots are tabulated provide the opportunity for ballot substitution in order to get the ballots to match a rigged tabulator count, as happened in Butler County, Ohio. Now that's harder to do. So you're gonna leave evidence because the ballots aren't gonna match the rigged tabulator. You can try and get it right.
Audit?
Yeah, before the audit, yeah, and I don't know that we found a single precinct in Butler County where the photograph ballots actually matched the tabulator. But we were told, I mean, a ranking member of the Board of Elections, a ranking employee volunteered the information that on election day, an ES&S technician had come to the Board of Elections and reprogrammed all their tabulators.
What county is this?
Butler County, Ohio. Yeah, an outside job. Oh yes, and the greater the number of extra ballots ordered by the boards of elections, above and beyond what could possibly be needed to accommodate all the voters, the greater the margin by which the vote count can be altered. All that is needed to cover the tracks is to destroy the unwanted ballots and the unused ballots, or leave the extra ballots off the invoice and the packing slip in the first place, as happened in Warren County. In Butler County, at least the extra ballots were on the invoice.
How did you know that happened if you didn't have the invoice?
Oh, that's an interesting story. They admitted it to Secretary of State Bruner when she demanded that they submit dog ate my homework letters to explain why they couldn't turn over all the evidence. And they listed the 11,000 extra ballots. They told Jennifer Bruner about it. I mean, I just, what can I tell you?
So does that mean the printer is complicit as well?
You think?
That's what I was wondering.
I mean, they're not on the packing slip or in the invoice. We happen to have it. So,
Aren't these based on population figures and how many voters?
yeah, they were supposed to have 101%, the ballots equaling 101% of the registered voters. We saw counties with 127%. Warren County was up around 150%. But you need all those extra ballots.
Yeah.
You know, the amount of votes to make up.
So when they have to give a reason, I would think, when they ask for extra ballots.
Not until now. I mean, I don't think anybody's ever held them accountable before. They just,
What is it all?
yeah, I don't know. Maybe a lot of voters can make mistakes. So anyway,
50%.
yeah.
Where will this be posted that you're reading?
I think this will end up on op-ed news, although you'd be, welcome to post it
It's
too.
much longer than an op-ed, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Bring it up, break it to two if you need to.
I could, but I think it kind of needs to be together. So, we'll see. It'll, that's who I had in mind when I wrote it. But it, it'll end up somewhere. Maybe I put it up on your own. I'll put it up on my own. I'm with districtpine.com. Yeah.
Very
Now-
important information.
Now,
Yes.
I realized that when I was writing this, for the people who are interested in auditing elections, this is critical because this is everything I know about how to do it.
Yeah.
Now, despite the numerous methods of ballot tampering practiced in Ohio, doing away with paper ballots is not the solution. Quite the contrary. The fact that 85% of the votes in Ohio in the 2004 election were cast on paper is what made the fraud detectable in the first place. Whereas electronic voting with no paper record makes election fraud undetectable. What made ballot alteration and ballot substitution possible in Ohio were the breaks in the chain of custody. And what allowed the 2004 election to withstand the initial court challenge was the fact that investigators were not allowed to examine the ballots until 2006.
2 years.
18 months.
Okay.
The preconditions for any crime are motive, means, and opportunity. In cases of election fraud, the motive will always be provided by the desire to win the official count. And the means will always be provided by whatever voting method is used. The only way to prevent election fraud is to prevent the opportunity. In my judgment, based upon 3 years' experience auditing a rigged presidential election, the solution is this. Paper ballots, counted by hand, in full public view, at the polling place, on election night, no matter how long it takes.
Did you word that sent word by word in there? Because that's a nice
Yeah.
book.
Yes.
Can you read it one
Yeah,
more
it's
time?
in the book too.
Cindy's book now.
Paper ballots, counted by hand, in full public view, at the polling place, on election night, no matter how long it takes.
Who does the counting?
The poll workers.
It's just the poll workers.
Yeah,
right?
with election observers.
Okay.
We, the people, have to assume this responsibility.
We could be an election observer.
Right.
Okay.
And the states I'm aware of, you can have one for each party, and then in New York State, there's lots of parties on the ballot. So you can have a lot of
Yeah,
observers.
Yeah.
In this way, the counting takes place before any chain of custody questions have
It's
arisen.
impossible, they only do this in 95% of the democracies on earth, so we're incapable of doing
Yeah.
it here.
I mean, they use paper ballots in Iraq, for instance.
We used to do this in America. It wasn't that long ago. I ended up interviewing, this is on op-ed too, I guess I'm pushing op-ed news today. Another article I wrote, I interviewed my own sister, bless her heart. I didn't realize she was a poll captain in the 70s. She said, well, we ain't got them. I said, well, how long did it take at the precinct?
Yeah.
I said, how long did it take? Thinking she might say, oh, sometimes 4 or 5 hours. She says, oh, about an hour. Now, I'm sure it depends on the election and how
Yeah.
big the ballot was, but she said, yeah, we had all kinds of choices to make. Now, granted, I mean, it might have been only 200 people instead of 500 or 800. I don't know. She
But
didn't
that's
remember.
about the average precinct in America, that's the big lie they're telling you. That the average precinct only has 200, 300, 400 voters.
Right.
And even in the
Yeah.
urban areas, you're talking 500, 600.
Oh.
Right, right.
Easy,
And the way it will frame the argument is, oh, this is not workable in urban counties. Well, you can't expect the Board of Elections to count 500,000 ballots. I didn't say that. I said at the polling place on
Yeah.
election night,
Yeah.
before the ballots leave the
Right.
polling place, before any chain of custody has arisen. An inner city precinct of 500 voters is no more difficult to count than a rural precinct of 500 farmers. I mean, numbers are
And
numbers.
then you disperse the responsibility, so the possibility of collusion.
You're 1 sentence ahead of me.
A record.
Yeah.
Everybody there
Yeah.
can have a record of how many
Yeah.
votes McCain got,
Right.
how many votes Obama
I
got.
watched them do this in the
Yeah.
New Hampshire primary one year. I mean, I'm sad to see how far they've fallen. In this way, the counting takes place before any chain of custody questions have arisen, which effectively prevents the opportunity for wholesale election fraud associated with centralized tabulation. If this seems old-fashioned, so be it.
Keep it simple, stupid.
When one is on the
Yes.
wrong path, a step backward is a step in the right direction. Any mountaineer knows this. I learned this as a boy. Make them steal elections the old-fashioned way. By altering ballots, destroying ballots, or stuffing the ballot boxes right at the polling places in precinct after precinct. This requires the collusion of large numbers of poll workers, both Republican and Democrat, and runs the risk of exposure at any polling place where we, the people, are watching.
That's good.
Excellent.
And we gotta have time for Bob.
Yeah.
Well,
You're
as
on
he's
the wrong,
going
you're on the
Wait.
wrong path to step backwards, step right. Is that your quote or someone else?
Oh, who knows who I learned it from?
Daniel
You know,
Boone, probably.
John
Master
Emerson
Lewis
or
Mammers.
Bill White,
Yeah.
some Adirondack guy when I was growing up. Yeah, when you were on the wrong path, a step backward is a step in the right direction.
We're gonna hit some of these
Sorry.
issues again, and we'll probably give you some new material, I'm sure, on the
Yeah, and I'd be glad to pick my
session.
brain about it too if you want to
Let's let Bob
punch this
go.
up.
This man, read the freepress.org, go to that website, and you will see ways to connect to all kinds of voting papers, election fraud, election integrity issues. I mean, he's got some good ones, and his gets sent to other places. So This man is the expert besides Richard, besides the videographer, expert in
And
video.
this-
And I'm the, it says an ethical person.
And this guy somehow knew in a matter of days that there was a different story in every county in Ohio, and this would be the most difficult thing I would ever do.
If there's one person that deserves, well, maybe you should say two, that deserves most of the credit for waking up America, it's this man and that hair.